Hello and good morning. I have an update for you that, contrary to popular belief, is not related to 7mm. I decided that it was probably best to do a little bit more work on Hennock before I consign it to the scrap heap. What I'd done is, after that Ginty fiasco, I decided that I should at least see what's going on with the layout and try and establish if that's worth anything. And I had loads of problems. I had this is my Type 3, which was ostensibly running fine the last time I checked. The layout itself was functioning really well. But when I came to try it again, I had loads of problems. This has got all-wheel pickup. It's got 6 axles, and each one has got a phosphor bronze wiper on the back, and it wouldn't move. I had to hold my hand on it. I had to rub it back and forth. And basically what happened is the layout just managed somehow just to get filthy, and I have no idea why. So I used this lighter fluid. It happened to be called Premium, but it's the same price as the rest of it, with some cotton buds and a wine cork, which it's not very abrasive, but it's got a very fine texture to it, which picks up the dirt. And what I was using was a block of Garaflex, which is like a Pico track rubber, and it was fine. It was leveling everything off, but it seemed that it was depositing the dirt back onto it. So it'd burnish it, and then it would just that dirt would still be hanging around. So I cleaned it rather than burnished it, and it was a lot better. And actually, I couldn't believe it. Same thing for this. The wheel treads were pretty dirty. I went through about 10 different cotton buds, wiping the treads of the wheels. But I actually also took the wheels out of the bogies and cleaned the back of them, which somehow got dirty, and the wipers themselves were dirty. And so now the running is fairly transformed. It's still not perfect, so while I'm doing this I may need to poke it a little, but that's running at the slowest speed step, and as you can see, it's performing pretty well. Inside it uses a 6-pin decoder. It's got a built-in PCB socket for the decoder, and it's a really loose fit, so I've had to use Kaptan tape inside to hold the decoder into place, but now that's fairly reliable. So then I started running it around the layout, and I realized that anytime I run it through this runaround track, there was a problem. And so when I built the layout, I built it kind of with this in mind, but I built this turnout, and then this turnout, and then this crossover as a unit. So this is a single unit that was placed in place. And then I had placed this one and then this one. And I had these 2 areas to fill between this side of the loop and that side of the loop. And so I spliced in rail. And I actually had some problems. There was a join here that was really bad. So I actually had to cut away a large section and replace it halfway through. A bit like this turnout, really. The original turnout here was just an early effort, and it wasn't suitable. So I had to replace that. This was easy. I just cut these joins. I replaced the fiddle yard track anyway, so that came out quite easy. But this was in the middle, so it was a lot more difficult. And for some reason, I decided to use an end-on solder joint. So the rails you can see here, let's focus in. That rail there, that join was an end-on join. And of course, as I'm rubbing it and I'm doing it, it's just snapped that join. There's no way that was going to hold up. So I've added some extra droppers in. So there's one there that you can see, and there's one here. Now they're really obvious now because they're bright silver. But once I paint this again with the Rail Match Sleeper Grime, I very much doubt you'll be able to tell. And then that kind of summarized that up. So that the layout doesn't run perfectly. There are problems. So I think what I just went through the process of doing was assuming that things that were good enough were fine. So if I just go past there, that's fine. If I do it in reverse, you might notice it bumps over the crossing. No, this one's okay, but there's some areas where it bumps a bit, and there's nothing I can do about that really at this stage, unless I decide to rip up the point work again. So I think I'm just going to take that as given. It's not a perfect layout. This hasn't derailed since I've done it back. There was one section over here this very tippy tip of this point blade, you can see I've bent it that way, and it was out a little bit. And because it was out a little bit, it was enough to deflect the wheels when the turnout was done the other way. So if I set it to turnout 4 and I change the polarity, or change the direction, yeah, here we go. See, it's pretty fine now, and you notice the one on the opposite side has got lots of space and a nice big gap. When the reverse was happening, this was poked. So when the turnout was in this position, the this point blade was pointing out into the forefoot, so it was causing problems. And also, this turnout's decoder managed to lose the IP address, but use the decoder address. But luckily, there's just a little toggle switch underneath. You flip, and then you pick on your handset. You pick an address. You flip it a few times, and that causes that cobalt to learn that address. You flip it back to operator mode, and it's fine. And so basically, I think, if anything goes horribly wrong, the track work is now all finished. And that includes what is through here. So if I just run the loco through, like I said, it might stall, so I'm going to run it a little bit faster than usual. I stop, and you can see here's our fiddle track, our cassette, but now it's removable. And before, I had these little tiny wire wipers which I was using to try and align and transfer current, which was just a no-go. So now there's these 1mm brass rod with a tube with a 1mm internal diameter. And yeah, that seems to work pretty well. It's a little annoying that the brass rod actually happens to be just slightly large. That it's proud of the railhead. The 2mm standards are such that shouldn't make a difference because the wheels shouldn't project over the railhead. I need to just do a little bit of fettling on that to make sure that doesn't happen. Make sure that little bumpiness doesn't happen. Just a case of, down here, I can do this. Just a case of filing these down and burnishing them a bit more and getting all the solder off the railheads and just clearing out all the space for the wheels to run. I think if I did it again, I would probably put a spacer between this rail and the tube on both sides to just bring it out a little. But now what I can do is create a number of these, and these can just, zoomed out. I can create a number of these and just leave them here, and then I can put one train in and put another train out. I will shave this end down and make this double-ended so I can turn the train. But basically that's not required. That's not in my minimum viable product, so to speak. So now I can paint this. I can tidy up all of these little bits and pieces that have been lost to knocks and dents and soldering and so on. And then I can ballast it, I can scenic it, and I can get it finished. Well, if not get it finished, just get it further along than it's been. I mean, I got it from a bare baseboard to this in the space of about a month, and then since then it's probably been a year, and almost nothing's happened to it. But generally, I'm just really pleased. The loco works, the track works, the fiddle yard cassette works, the decoders work, everything's working. And given where I was when I finished the Ginty and basically nothing was working, I'm taking that as a massive victory.